like that. I'm going to kind of say what we've done and mainly concentrate on the commission part of it and addressing that. So anyway, Mr. Nussbaum, I appreciate the opportunity to work with you. We've talked about some things we can do to help you sell your home, to prepare it for selling. We've talked about some recent sales and comparables, both in your neighborhood and outside your neighborhood, trying to find a happy medium in where the pricing should be, and we've come up with a price range for that. And I've talked about what I'm going to try to do to give you the best opportunity to sell your house at the best possible price. Now we come to the part where we're going to talk about the compensation involved in it. And as you're probably aware of, or you may not be well aware of, there has been a lot of litigation over the past year. Actually, it started earlier than that. But the outcome of that litigation, we now know to a point what we're dealing with. And so we have to be really careful when we discuss, as we heard earlier. He may be afraid of some of the things I was going to say, but I'm still going to probably talk about them a little bit. But anyway, we need to talk about compensation. And one of the biggest things is we no longer can communicate the buyer's agent compensation through the multiple listing service. That was part of the issue of being antitrust problems. So because of that, we're going to have to be creative in how we get that information out, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But when I take a listing, because so many of my listings are in the rural areas, sometimes not very highly priced listings, I guess is the way to say that. I like to do my listings at 6% commission and allow half of that, 3%, to go to the buyer's agent. And so there's probably some discussion about that now. I think more sellers are aware that it has always been negotiable. And I think sometimes we talk about it not being negotiable before. It's always been negotiable. But the problem with the lawsuits was it perceived to be not negotiable, non-negotiable. So I'm asking you to trust me to do the best job that I can, and to help achieve that, not only my compensation be 3%, but we provide a 3% compensation to the buyer's agent. I looked this morning at the Lubbock MLS. There's approximately 1,960 listings, either active or contingent. And because of that, we are working against a lot of other people trying to sell their homes. And your home at the $250,000 range, there's a lot of competition for that. Your home has some things in it that I think will draw people to it, and we will do our very best to market those things. But because of that, I'm going to ask you to agree to a 6% commission. Now, I will make that available to other realtors, and there's ways we can do it without being in the MLS. But also, I'm going to ask your permission. Two things. I'm going to ask that you do it at 6%, and I'm also going to ask that you give me permission to provide information to other brokers and other buyers that you'll also pay things towards closing costs, flex cash, or whatever. And if you give me permission to do that, I can include that in what we do. So do you have any questions about that?
Well, I'm like any other seller. I want the most money I can put in my pocket,
Yes, sir.
So what you're saying to me is, in the past, 6%'s been kind of the number, and you kind of shared that. But am I understanding you right now? I might have an option to not have to pay 6%?
Yes, sir. As I mentioned, it is negotiable. And the reality is, you could say, I want to pay 2%. But the reality is, it would be very difficult to sell your home if that's what we did. Now, I will work hard to get it done, but I need 3% from my end, because it just, as you mentioned, it's negotiable for you. It's negotiable for me as well. And with with me doing it, wanting compensation, I don't want more than that. There are bonuses being paid by different organizations, different companies to buyer's agents right now. We heard earlier that Lubbock Builders providing 4% compensation right now. So again, it is negotiable. The part that we need to come to an agreement on and have an understanding about is the portion that will go to the buyer's agent. And again, if we do 5%, I would probably be likely to do 2.5 to me and 2.5 to them to be equitable. But when we're marketing those, please remember that there are 2,000 homes for sale right now and probably 200 or 300 in your price range. And buyer's agents have a fiduciary responsibility to treat their buyers fairly and equitably. But it's human nature to want to make the most money you can, just the same way you do, and it's the same way it is with buyer's agents. So I would encourage you to consider offering the full 6%, 3% to me and 3% to the buyer's agent. And I think if we do that, we will have a better chance of selling. But again, it's your decision, and we will do whatever you want to do. But I really want 3% for what I do, and I feel it's worth that.
Sure, I understand. Do you think, I'm not sure I get the concept, but I think I've got the concept. So how is the buyer agent gonna know what I'm willing to pay? How's that gonna work?
We will use social media to do that, and most realtors nowadays are privy to that information. But if you use some social media, you might not be on the same page with them. Probably the best way that we'll be able to communicate that is they'll see the listing, and if I can present it in such a way they're interested in it, then they will communicate with me asking. I've already done that several times. I texted an agent Sunday evening at 9 p.m. and apologized because I thought I was showing one on Monday, but I needed to know, or I wanted to know. Responded immediately and said, please sell it. And so I think other realtors are going to understand that we have to communicate about it. I'll be very good about communicating that and getting that out to the public as well as I can. And I think if we're proactive in doing that, I think we'll have a better chance of selling your home at a good price.
Okay. Well, that's not exactly what I was thinking, but I understand where you're coming from. Is there any other alternative for me? I mean, I realize that so what I'm hearing you say is I need to look at commissions. And then in addition to that, you're thinking that I need to be thinking about maybe paying closing costs or some other incentive over and above just the
Yes, sir. If you'll look back 2 to 3 years ago, you would put a listing out there, and if it was a quality home and you priced it well, you would get multiple offers. They'd be way above that, and you would end up selling your home. But at any given time, there were maybe 400 homes for sale, and the inventory is down to less than half a month at times. And so it has transitioned to the other side now. And so it's a very competitive marketplace in trying to get your home sold. And so one of the tools that we can use to do that is to provide, we've agreed on a price or a price range. Being able to provide some kind of compensation that will help them, because so many buyers in that price range, the reality is they're going to have difficulty coming up with a down payment, especially on a conventional home. And so if we can do some of the things with the closing costs, that doesn't add to their cost. And the other factor involved in that is if we start trending towards the buyer agent paying compensation, that's going to be even more difficult for people buying homes in this price range. And so I think if you can both offer a good commission, but also offer, and you don't have to make a final decision about that until you're negotiating, or until we're negotiating for the contract. So if someone offered offered $10,000 off what you're asking, and we mentioned we might pay up to $6,000 for closing costs, you're not gonna be tied to that, because that's based on getting an offer closer to asking price. So it will be up to you until the final time when we add that to the contract.
Joe, you've done an outstanding job. You've done your homework, and you've been really great at educating me as to what I need to do. I think I'm ready to sign, and I'll do it at a 6% fee.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Newspot.
Questions or anybody?
Until I'm at the foot of the master.
I thought that was excellent.
Does anybody know the percentage of selling your own listing? How many percent of that?
I heard it was 2%, I think,
2%.
sometime this week.
I think we could use that in the bylaw.
I absolutely do too.
To let them know that.
That's
if
good
you-
thought.
If we do 3% and you only have me, if we do 6%, then you have how many of 1,700 committees are now? 1,700 agents looking to make a commission.
Mhm.
Cause that's, we're all in it to make a living, we're not, well, some of us is, I do it. Oh, I do. I wish I could say I did, but I did. I'm not good. Sure.
I kind of came to peace with this myself, last week, because I realized two things. One, y'all, it's gonna depend on market conditions. If we have a unicorn like we did with COVID, we're probably gonna see smaller commissions being offered by our agents, right? I mean, that just makes sense. Some people even paid their buyer agent back then. I doubt in my lifetime, we're gonna see another unicorn like that. The other thing I came to peace with is, no matter how many changes we have in the business, my ethics will not change. If I have a first-time home buyer that is scraping every penny together, I'm gonna show them whatever, and I'm gonna do the best job I can for them. I need to look myself in the mirror. So that gave me a lot of comfort that, again, no matter how many changes we go through in this business, and we've seen one or two, haven't we, Don? Those things don't change. And my comfort with doing the best job I can for my sellers and buyers won't change. We just have to get a little better with explaining it.
We've got lazy, we haven't had to really do much lately. We don't even talk to other agents, which I personally use that personal contact.
I agree.
I was gonna say that, when we got showing done, my objection to that was we didn't talk to the other agents, and so we've lost community.
And it's
Well,
nice.
and some agents don't wanna talk to you anymore.
Right.
They won't even give you feedback when you,
They're gonna have to, so maybe it'll reestablish that community that is better for all of us.
So our most friend of mine tells me, my husband, as a matter of fact, tells me, get in or get out. Get in or get out, that's pretty much what my opinion of it is, you do it or not,
are you considering any kind of policy